Hey everyone, and welcome to a Gamer's Eden review, or an Eden review, or something. We haven't really figured out the name yet, but we're sure it will be super cool.
Anyway,
This is a new series where we declare ourselves video game experts and criticize the work of people far more intelligent and hardworking than ourselves.
but that's because we're terrible people. But seriously, the following review and all reviews that will follow are simply our opinions alone. We hope you enjoy.
When it comes to video games, you normally don't see the creator's name on the cover. It just doesn't happen. You're not gonna stumble into the store and see Joe Blow's Halo 4. It's not a common thing. Of course, there are exceptions, one of which being the one and only Sid Meier.
His biggest game being the Civilization franchise. But today, we're going to be talking about something a little bit less popular. Sid Meier's Pirates.
This little gem was released in 2004, and was actually a remake of a 1987 game of the same name.
As the name suggests, the game centers around you as you hire your crew, you buy and upgrade ships, trade with merchants, and of course sink and capture unsuspecting vessels on the high seas.
Don't forget about romancing governors' daughters.
Yeah, there's also that.
Joking aside though, I seriously love this game. I remember getting it for my 13th birthday, and I played the crap out of it. Since then, it has remained as one of the few games that I can consistently fall back on to provide quality entertainment. I've easily put a couple hundred hours into it.
Alright, slow yourself down, you're getting ahead of yourself.
Oh right, sorry.
The game is comprised of quite a few mechanics, from sinking ships to dancing in a ballroom. The game for its time was definitely an underdog fighting an uphill battle with such things as Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, The Legend of Zelda Four Swords Adventures, Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, and many more. For 2004, the graphic quality and basic polish of the game is quite well made. But enough of that, let's get into how the game actually plays. You start off by making a character. There's various classes that you can choose, and then you choose a difficulty. While you can't really customize the character, so to speak, you do get to choose how you play the game, which is very nice.
This freedom of play is available because of the open world. You are free to explore the entire Caribbean as you see fit. The map is massive for a game of this time period, and invisible walls are nearly non-existent. The freedom is incredible. While there is a main storyline, you can simply ignore it if you wish. The main story works exactly as a great storyline should work in an open world game. It gives you direction if you need it, but in many ways, it is simply one small piece of the greater picture. You never feel as if the story takes away from your freedom, or vice versa.
I'm not so sure. In the story, you're a child that's robbed by pirates and your family is sold into slavery, and you have to become a pirate to rescue them, by any means necessary. That's pretty amazing. But, in my opinion, the story is the game's worst point. The game reminds me of Skyrim, where the main story of the game is the last thing you want to do, because everyone hates the story in Skyrim anyway.
Okay, I'll concede that this is not a narrative-driven game, but honestly, it shouldn't be. The focus of the game is on freedom, a fitting theme for a pirate game, honestly, and the game does well in not straying away from that theme.
Fair enough, but I would have liked to have something a little more engaging. I never felt at all invested in saving my family. It was way too easy to simply just turn away and forget the main story even existed. I enjoyed sinking ships, selling the cargo, and fighting the random French, British, Spanish, and Dutch captains far more than I liked the main story at all.
Alright, well that brings me to another facet of this game that's really cool. I love how the four factions, Britain, France, Spain, and the Netherlands, were interacting, going to war, making peace, and constantly changing the political environment, and how you, as the player, had to react to those changes. I like choosing a side, sinking enemy ships, and then returning to be promoted by the governor of the faction I just helped. The promotions weren't cosmetic either. They were useful bonuses that helped with an assortment of things when you were in friendly ports.
Hey, there's no argument here. The different nations were cool. I enjoyed getting promoted, but I never really picked sides. Still, the character designs for the enemies would change from nation to nation, and that was pretty cool. Which brings me to one of my favorite parts of the game, the sword fighting. While you can sink the ship like normal as cannon-to-cannon battle, you can also board the ship and engage in a harsh sword fight with the captain. While this is happening, you're timed as the fight continues. You have your crew, and then there's the opponent's crew. They both deplete slowly based on how many people you have in your crew at the time. If you or the captain's thrown overboard, they're the one that takes the ship in the end. The entire fighting system is based on using the arrow keys and trying to push back the captain to be pushed off the edge. It's a very well built system in my opinion, and that gets very hard when you get to the higher difficulties where you're simply looking at them, trying to guess, just on the way they're swinging, how to dodge them and then how to counterattack. It creates a strong way of choosing how you're going to fight.
Well, while I thought the sword fights were fun for a while, they honestly weren't my favorite.
Well, now you're just disagreeing with me for the fun of it.
I'm not, I promise. Look, the sword fights were initially cool, but they eventually grew boring. Block, attack, over and over and over again until someone won. Sure, harder enemies could prove a challenge, but in the end, it was still just a minigame of see and react. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's a terrible aspect of the game, just not a strong one either.
Well, fine then. I think there's something we can both agree upon, which is hunting down the top 10 notorious pirates in the world.
Yeah, that hands down is awesome. I loved getting information from a barmaid informing me of Blackbeard's last location, and then I would go and move heaven and earth to kill those guys.
I mean, there isn't many things that are more satisfying than clawing your way up a ladder of the world's most notorious pirates by facing off against them, each and every one at a time.
And they always had the best loot and ships as well, and proved to be a much greater challenge than the average warship that you would find from here to there.
Getting to them, though, just a pain in the ass. In fact, getting to anything in this world was just a pain in the ass. While sailing around is fun and all, something that always annoyed me was a wind. The wind would change randomly between high and low knots, going east and west, but for the love of God, I hated spending a goddamn hour slowly sailing so I can reach the dock and sell my goddamn cargo. Damn it.
Okay, it was annoying, but I still thought it was a cool game mechanic. But Matt, there are just so many good things about this game, like the retirement aspect. I absolutely love retiring and seeing what job I take up in the aftermath of pirating, along with my age, health, lifestyle, and other cool little trivial things.
While I don't disagree with you about retiring, I always found it kind of weird because you're retiring from a life of pirating. No one noticed that you just happened to disappear or you have the same exact face as the guy that was pirating the entire time. All aspects aside though, there are a lot of fun things to do in the game. Getting a crew, stealing and selling goods while watching the market,
Locating buried treasure, buying better equipment,
finding the lost Aztec cities, upgrading your ship, increasing the size of your fleet.
raiding and capturing towns, romancing governors' daughters.
Damn it, Tim.
The point is that there's just so much fun stuff to do in this game that it hardly ever gets old. Mix that with the fun, bright art style and the fact that the game clearly has a lot of love put into it, it really does shine.
While we may like and dislike different aspects of the game, I think we can still agree on that this is an apple of Eden.
Definitely.
So, if you're in the mood for a slightly older game with a lot of color, heart, and entertaining quality, go give Sid Meier's Pirates a try. You won't regret it.